and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there.
Donald Trump's rally in Las Vegas, Nevada was incredibly hot, almost 107 degrees, and left his supporters confused as Donald Trump rambled about sharks and electrocution for almost a minute. I'm going to play this clip and notice the reactions of his supporters about a minute in.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asked this question. And it must be because of MIT, my relationship to MIT. Very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said,
there's more to this clip, but every one of this guy's speeches is like a game of word association where he mentions a word like shark and that brings up a thought, then he randomly says, oh, there have been a lot of shark attacks lately, and nothing really makes sense or comes together or loops around in a satisfying way. But back to the clip.
So there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark. So we could.
4 years ago today, the American populace was forced to quarantine inside their homes because Donald Trump botched a pandemic response. But today, in Las Vegas, Donald Trump is campaigning on bringing the country back to how it looked 4 years ago. Watch this clip.
We're going to turn this country around. We're going to turn it around really fast. We're going to do the things that you've wanted to do. We're going to bring it back to 4 years ago and do even more. We did.
The Trump campaign has been trying to push this phrase, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? But now that we're 4 years past the pandemic exactly, they're now trying to switch the phrase to be something like, are you better off under President Biden than you were under President Trump? But Donald Trump then used the word bullshit, which caused the entire crowd to chant the word bullshit because they're all mindless drones that follow. And it's funny that the party that won't let their kids go to pride parades because two men are holding hands will let their kids go to a Trump rally so they can learn a new word. Watch this clip.
It's bullshit what he signed.
And then Donald Trump rambled about Hillary Clinton. They literally cannot stop talking about Hillary Clinton. She lives rent-free in their minds. And he rambles about the fact that she called them deplorables and irredeemable, which they are. Watch this.
That's turning out to be like a deplorable. Remember deplorable when Hillary said deplorable? She said deplorable, and that was not good. That was not a good word to use. This word seems to be catching on a little bit, but in a much more positive way than deplorable. That was not good. She actually said deplorable and irredeemable. Do you remember? And I heard it, and I said, wow, that irredeemable is really a bad word, and it didn't catch on. What caught on was deplorable. So what the hell do I know about politics, right?
That last line was the only coherent and true thing that he said throughout this entire speech, but he then went on to talk about the January 6th insurrectionists and called them warriors and victims. He's been upping and upping this apocalyptic rhetoric, saying we won't have a country anymore, our country is going to be doomed, I'm going to pardon these warriors and hostages, as if they weren't the ones who made the decision to break into the Capitol. There were multiple breach points and tried to disrupt. They successfully literally disrupted our peaceful transfer of power for the first time in American history. They delayed it. They chanted stuff like 1776 and hang Mike Pence, and here's Donald Trump saying that they are just victims. Watch.
And we're going to change that around. We want to be fair. So we're going to change that, and we're going to change it, and we're going to change it fast. But those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election. That's what they were doing. And then the police say, go in, go in, go in, go in. How about Scaffold Joe, the guy on the scaffold? Or how about the big FBI guy or whatever, wherever he comes from? Go on in, everybody, go on in. What a setup that was. What a horrible, horrible thing. And, you know, that blows two ways. That blows two ways, believe me. And
I talk about this a lot on my show, but right now Donald Trump is laying the groundwork for Project 2025. Project 2025 is a plan from the Heritage Foundation to essentially strip all of our agencies of their independence, consolidate power within the executive branch, and if Donald Trump wins a second term, he would come in and he would appoint tens of thousands of civil servants to work for him in the government. And when he appoints those civil servants, he can promise to pardon them, just like he's going to pardon the so-called January 6th hostages, and then he can endlessly justify eroding every single norm, breaking every single rule in the book by saying he can just pardon the people beneath him. And that's when we've lost the checks and balances that allow our government to function on a day-to-day basis. But here's a clip of Donald Trump bragging that it's 110 degrees out, but he barely feels it, even though a few days ago in Phoenix, Arizona, a few of his supporters collapsed because it was so hot out. Watch this clip.
We don't have enough time. We only have a few hours. We don't have enough time. And now, by the way, it's 110, but it doesn't feel it to me, right? So we'll stay out here for a little while. If anybody gets tired, you'll let me know. And if anybody goes down, if you start going down, we have people, they'll pick you up right away. They'll throw water. You know, they were so worried. Everybody was so worried yesterday about you. And they never mentioned me. I'm up here sweating like a dog. Secret Service said, we have to make sure everyone's safe. I said, what about me? We never thought of that. They don't think about me. I'm working my ass off. I'm working hard. This is hard.
If you ever wonder why I don't play clips of Donald Trump talking policy on stage, it's because he never does. He goes up there and he talks about himself, he talks about the weather, he talks about anything but policy. Again, he uses apocalyptic rhetoric. He talks about how everything is rigged against him. He uses these vacuous phrases like drill, 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 baby, or build that wall, but then never elaborates further on how he'll make that happen, how he'll negotiate, how any of this will work in the real world. Whereas if you listen to somebody like President Biden speak, or even somebody like Bernie Sanders, at least Democrats can actually lay out a plan. I don't think Republicans can do that or govern whatsoever. Here's a clip of Donald Trump saying there would be no drug problem in the US if the death penalty was in play, because President Xi Jinping from China told him that there's no drug problem there, which I highly doubt. Watch.
But if you went with the death penalty, you would have no drug problem in this country. Instant, if it was a meaningful, not a trial that lasts 400 years. Like China, I was with President Xi. I said, do you have a drug problem? No. He didn't even know what I was talking about. He's got 1.4 billion people. I said, do you have a drug problem? He goes, no drug problem. I said, how do you do that? Essentially, he said, the death penalty. We catch, they call it quick trial. They have a trial, and it's quick.
A quick trial for people with a drug problem. That sounds like they're going to gather homeless people and just execute them with a quick trial like they would do in China. And Donald Trump probably has some drug addicts close to him. I won't name any names, but he has a few people in his life whose eyes are always suspiciously red and who are always tapping on their nose. But this is not a realistic solution to any sort of drug problem. This is a child solution. This is a wannabe dictator solution. It's just as childish as saying we'll just build a wall on the border and that will solve the decade-long complex immigration problem that we've been facing. My name is Mockler. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit the subscribe button, and have a great day.